Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. It is my second video in a row today. So yeah, I am definitely rocking and rolling, and I feel like this video is very long awaited. So I've been holding my tongue for way too long, and we're just gonna get into the tea of it all. And this is just going to discuss my volunteer experience at Mama's Home Hostel in Tulum. And it'll go into a bunch of things, mainly like just my entire experience volunteering, and the tea of where I was and how that was affecting me. So yeah, first, I guess, let me start with this is my first time I ever volunteered. Finally, the time came because I was trying to find volunteer opportunities for close to 2 years on WorkAway. Not consistently, but definitely periodically. And I never got anything that came through. Usually people don't reply, or if they do reply, they were like, oh, our volunteers are extending and we don't have space. So finally I got a opportunity at Mama's Home. Now it came right on time, let me say that. It honestly was very last minute. I was here before at the place I am now, and I was renting a room, and it came across the time where I was going to renew and just pay more to stay longer. But I got the opportunity to volunteer, and who would want to pay when you could just stay somewhere for free? So yeah, I got the approval via WorkAway. Like, they messaged and they were like, okay, definitely come through. It was very last minute though. They said next day, which was loco, and or either they said like basically in a day, like could I come basically the next day? And that was going to be a no, because that's just very last minute and weird, and I had like another week here before it was the end of my stay period. So I'd have been wasting money, and like it was just very last minute, and I don't like that. Luckily, I didn't even ask, but I did say something to the fact like, do you mean this weekend? Like, it was already, I believe, Thursday or Friday, and yeah, so luckily they messaged me before I kind of turned them down, and they were just like, oh, you know what, actually you could come on Monday. And I was like, okay, that's a better frame for me, and I can mentally prepare and physically prepare in that time frame. So yeah, Monday I arrived, and it was a really cool experience. Before I got there, I knew from the information I received, it was a hostel that I actually had looked into before as far as staying on Hostel World, because I usually go on Hostel World for everything, or either Airbnb. So I did see the hostel, and there's always really good reviews about it. So I was familiar with it in that sense. And I was just very excited because, you know, I'll be staying there for free. And yeah, so when I got there, it was so, you know, warm, and I was greeted by the other two volunteers, Celine and Tosh. And yeah, they basically gave me a tour, gave me the rundown. I later on met the manager, Gabby, and she was super sweet. And she just was talking to me about the schedule and what to expect. Now, the schedule was a little bit of a lie. They explained to me via text and in person like how it would go. It sounded really confusing, but they basically made it seem like you were going to have 2 days off, if not 2.5 days off. And I was like, that's amazing, like great balance of life and work. So yeah, but that is not what actually happened. We actually only had 1 day off. And yeah, it was weird because I later would explain how I was confused to other volunteers, and they said the same thing. Like, yeah, they thought it was going to be something different too. And we basically got, duped into having one to like literally no days off. Reception, there was 2 reception shifts, day, night. There was 2 activity shifts, day, night. There was breakfast shifts, and I think that tied into like the daytime activity shift. And there was the night shift, which also kind of tied into reception. So yeah, it was like that. Well, at first I was happy I was in the groove. I was definitely in the beginning making it a point to prove myself as a loyal employee or staff member in a sense, because I was new and I wanted them to know that, they picked the right candidate. And also something that I noticed looking back, my manager at the time, she was trying to kind of plant seeds of divisiveness between us in a way. Because when I first got there, she was like saying how it was not so much of a family environment as far as the staff as it used to be. And it may have been because switching of people or just like a vibe, I don't know, but it wasn't as close knit as they were used to, and they want that back. So I was like, okay. And just basically telling them I'm dedicated, anything, call on me. And like, she liked that. She was like making it seem like she saw a future in my career there in a way. So yeah, that was the first red flag I felt like, is just kind of planting seeds of like how there was disrupt in the household. And yeah, that definitely spawned into a whole monster of its own later on. As far as accommodations at this hostel, we basically all shared, well, there was 5 volunteer spots, mostly girls. So there was a dorm where there were 4 beds, and we all usually stayed in there because the girls are gonna outweigh the guys, and we all want to stay together in a room so we could do our girl things. And when I first got there was one guy, and he was just in our largest mixed dorm and a bed out there. And they seemed to like to do that, the guys, I noticed, so us girls could just be in a room by ourselves. And then eventually we had 2 guy volunteers that replaced our other one. And one was out there, and the other one was in the room with us. So yeah, it did turn into a mixed dorm, but he was totally cool. And yeah, it was very, very fun. It was a lot of laughs, like literally every day, all day, we were just bawling in that room, like so many good times. And that was probably the most heartwarming part of the hostel experience, is just things that we've experienced in that dorm room together, just talking about and laughing. But yeah, so honestly, looking back, I don't know how we all fit our things in that dorm room, because it was so small. It was the smallest room. Honestly, that room just deserved 2 beds, but they fit 4 in there. I don't even... the slavery, I tell you. But anyways, oh, the wind. Moving on to the perks. The perks are pretty fun. But they could get old, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. So like I said, we did have day and night activities. Now the daytime activities were the funnest ones, which were like going to the cenotes, going to like the ruins of Tulum, going to, what else did we do? Beach day. Nobody ever signed up for beach day really. But yeah, we had a bunch of activities. Mostly the cenotes were the like diamonds that everybody wanted to do. And I went to Casa Tortuga, which was like the funnest activity. It took me forever to get that activity. I felt like my manager was giving me like the worst activities, but we'll get into that in a second. I had to actually ask for that one, and I finally got it. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, the activities are fun. Nighttime activities, everyone participated pretty much. They included like beer pong, going to Palma Central. What else did we do? Pizza night, family dinner, and some other things. Like, we would switch it up. Okay. So yeah, the wind keeps knocking down my camera. Anyways, another perk we had was free breakfast, of course. It was a bed and breakfast place, and everyone in the house got free breakfast. So that was a great plus because not all hostels serve breakfast, so that was pretty chill. Also, we got the free water, and yeah, we had volunteer bikes as well, which sucked so bad. Honestly, those bikes were terrible. But other than that, you know, we had transportation, we had access to the activities in a way. If anything, a discount, because the activities were discounted as well. So yeah, there were perks, and that's all I can think of right now. The first group of volunteers, I was the newbie, and I saw a lot. I saw my fellow volunteers going through things that I did not understand at the time, and looking back, I saw how literally I fit that slot of their unhappiness, and it was scary because I would just see them either talking amongst themselves or either like upset and having outbursts. And I was wondering what is going on behind the scenes, with who is with the drama and what was happening. And I eventually found out how and what was happening because I became one of them. So yeah, everyone eventually, all my first group of volunteers, eventually they did come to the end of their stays. So as they were leaving, other people were replacing, and ultimately I became the veteran, which was really cool. I missed it then, but I loved the new ones, and yeah, this was my new little family. Now, with that came responsibility that I was not aware of, and it was very grueling and ultimately just fucked me up mentally, because I understand that I've been here probably, yeah, at that point it was 2 weeks before, I think 2, maybe 3 weeks before all of those volunteers left and we got completely new ones. But I still feel like what was expected was way above what was reality. For me, the way I learn is I experience things usually the first time, and that's how I know. That's how I know what to do for the next time. I'm not going to read your mind and assume and do something that possibly could be wrong anyway, and you're yelling at me about. How about you look at it from my standpoint? And that was also something too that I thought of. I'm like, okay, nobody's perfect. I'm only here for a couple of weeks, and you don't know what my learning level is. You don't know what my, mindset is. How would you treat someone who had slight autism? How would you treat someone who has something that you would still have to deal with, because we're all people and we're all different? Like, that came across my mind. Eventually, like I said, all of the things that I was not understanding in the beginning with other people, I saw the realization of what that was and what was happening and how I became them. Like, it was literally just scary. Like, I was like, wow, like, she is just so ungrateful to the veterans and the people who have proven themselves for more than enough time. I'm gonna use an example of this favoritism because other people saw it and it needs to be said. So I remember one night I did the bikes, which is the hardest thing that we do. It's, taking these bikes, we lock them up in a safer place. It's a very messy job. It's very time consuming and it's annoying. And some of my volunteers would go back and forth. We would all hate the bikes, but then one person, and she knows who she is, and other people know who she is, around certain people, she would act like the bikes ain't that bad, but yet you hate the bikes and we all hate the bikes, and you would complain, but then around somebody else you wouldn't complain and say, oh, it's not that bad. And like, anyway, there was a few people who did that. 2 people I could think of, and they were the favoritism favorites. So yeah, that explains. But anyway, I remember I did these bikes, right? Okay, myself. And I'll tell you why. Nobody ever does the bikes alone. And it's because it's the hardest thing that we have to do. It's annoying, and it's just nice to help and have a partner. And I actually did this alone. I never saw anybody before me do it alone or after me. And the scenario of how this happened was the other person who was supposed to help me, the person on duty at reception, they were cheersing and having endless beers with my manager all day. And my manager saw me relaxing for a second on my phone and was like, chop chop, can you do bikes? And it's mad early, mind you, which it was a special occasion that day, so I understand, okay, maybe early. But why didn't you get the other person to do it with me? No, because she's drinking beers and cheersing and having her favorite sit by her side while she sees the only black girl doing it by herself alone, the most hardest task of the day. It's funny because that happened to me, right? And then I see with another volunteer that ended up being a favorite. Okay, tell me why. I wasn't working this day, or maybe I was, but I was working something else. One of the favorites, we found out that she didn't do bikes alone because the other volunteer, they were doing something. And they put the bikes inside, which we're not supposed to do at all. They put the bikes inside of the hostel. Why? Because the favorite was probably frail, petite. Oh, you know, she's liked by the manager. She's one of the only who is, you know, kissing her ass 24/7. And just because she would have been in the same spot I was doing it alone because the other person wasn't there to help her, you told her to just take the easy way out and put them inside, which we never did ever before or after that. So we all were just like, favoritism. Like, it was mad fake in there, yo. Like, just mad fake. Like, and we all saw it. Like, there were probably 2 people who were the favorites out of everyone. And it's funny because speaking with my other volunteer, because she actually wrote me and said something to the effect like, yeah, what's their name only gets along with 1 out of 10 people. And it was so true because it's like I was with 2 groups of volunteers and she only liked really 2 people out of those 2 groups the most. And it's just like so sad. Anyway, there was just favoritism, there was discrimination. And I later heard it was because she told one of my friends who told me, oh yeah, I know Rose smokes weed. And I'm like, girl, shut up, okay? Your lifestyle can be judged, and you know what I mean by that. So how dare you judge my lifestyle? I'm not bringing it around anyone. I'm not doing anything that affects anyone. And other people smoked weed there too, but you want to judge the black person. I know it was because I am black. I felt like a lot of things were that way, and I'm not even that type of person. I saw it, others saw it, and even other guests told me they saw it too, and they felt a weird vibe as well. The manager was just very nasty. I felt like, honestly, she's an alcoholic, and I'm gonna say that right here, right now, because when I see someone drinking more than 2 beers on a daily basis, yeah, girl, you got problems, okay? You could call me a weedaholic, or you could call me whatever, but you're an alcoholic, because this girl would drink all day, every day, which explains how she looks. Okay, but yeah, my phone has no more space, so we're just gonna use my professional camera for the rest of this video and call it a day. So yeah, if I am seeing someone drinking all day every day, then they got a problem, okay? And if people around them are on pins and needles and nervous for their actions that are gonna follow on a daily basis, then girl, you are causing problems. And it sucks because you're the head of the fish, so obviously the whole fish is gonna stink if you have a stink attitude, which she always did. always will, and literally just probably so unhappy in life in so many ways, and that just, you know, is for everyone else to reap around her. I just feel so bad for everyone involved because I love the whole hostel except her. And unless you were kissing her ass to be a favorite or probably super attractive for her to stare at, then she was not going to use you for anything else but a mule and a number. I went there as a volunteer trying to get away from the work life, you know, the grueling hours, not having a life, the whole 9 to 5 vibe. And it was like that, but worse. Because at the hostel, I felt like the manager wanted our whole life to be the hostel. She basically would, because I asked for, you know, some type of work-life balance, or, you know, saying these things matter to me, and anytime we would be focused on ourselves rather than the hostel, especially if we were just like around at night when things could be done, it's kind of like she'll ask you and make you feel obligated, or either make you feel guilty for not helping. And that is toxic. Okay, everything about that girl was toxic, and I just don't even know. I don't even know how people, like, well, first of all, it's a revolving door. Like, literally, I see why no one stays because her. Like, it's just so much that goes into it that I can't even say. But what I can say is, from what I heard, the whole hostel is like just completely different. Mama doesn't even go there anymore. Like, she's not working there. The manager who was causing all these problems is now dipping out so she can travel and just live her life, which she made me feel so bad for, prioritizing my life, but now she's gonna do it. Funny. And yeah, basically it's like, okay, everybody wants to put them first, like I tried to, but they made me feel like the enemy. So it's interesting, or just she made me feel like the enemy. But yeah, I don't like it. It's just, I don't like being around alcoholics. I don't like people playing with my livelihood, okay? Just because you are immature and you have favorites, and just because you have no professionalism, you are putting other people at risk, because this is a volunteer opportunity. We're travelers. We are depending on this to live. Like, we're living here for the time being. And at some point, I just felt like any day I could be kicked out. Like, literally, I got to the point where I was just like keeping my shit packed and like just looking for other opportunities, which eventually I found. I came back here, obviously, but it felt like every day was in limbo. And I don't like people playing with me like that in the work field, let alone when it comes to accommodation, like my life. So it was a no-go. Like, it's just crazy because it was my first volunteer opportunity, and it was just such a crazy, toxic one, but it did have so many good moments thanks to my fellow volunteers and the guests that were amazing. But my God, when someone is in charge and they literally don't know how to act, they can ruin everyone's lives, and that's the way it was. And the only people who acted like it was not the way I'm describing it were the favorites, and those two know who they are. So yeah, it was a lot, and I am very blessed to be where I am now. No stress, nobody demanding things from me that I'm not willing to do. Here, I do what I want when I want. I don't get told what to do. If anything, it's things that, you know, come up that we all know we need to do here. It's not like I'm being told what to do. I do what I want when I want here, which is amazing. And I'm the property manager, which is crazy because I went from being a volunteer/slave at my beautiful casa in Playa del Carmen, which is where I really wanted to be anyway. Tulum was not really my vibe. It was very touristy, overpriced, and just aimed for gringos. And I don't know, I just don't like Tulum like that, honestly. It's just not, it's not a local vibe, and that impacts a lot of things. So yeah, we are happy to be back here, and we are just so happy and stress free. No evil bitch. Once I just got tired of being treated like shit. I felt the body language was completely awkward. This person was barely even looking in my direction or associating with me unless they were asking me to do things. And it got to a nasty place where I was left with no other options. I was literally being nothing but nice and kind to this person, and they were just treating me like a peon, which was miserable because I was trying to do nothing but just stay, cordial, nice, friendly the whole time. And it's just like they refused. They refused to be nice to me, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because, again, they judge me because I smoke weed, or it's because I'm black and I smoke weed, or it's because I stood up for myself in certain ways. So yeah, finishing the story about Mama's birthday. So yeah, I was gone for a break for 30 minutes, and I was counting. I remember I was counting, and I left the bathroom because I had a stomach issue. I had the parasitos, so like I was in the bathroom, and once I left the bathroom, I was completely mauled by this person, like bombarded, like, where were you? We were looking for you. The other volunteers doing things by themselves. Go apologize to her. Like, this bitch is literally telling me go apologize to my friend, which I already know in my mind, this girl don't give a damn. Like, and she literally was yelling at me in front of guests, and like right in front of our dorm room is so busy. It's like, it's a cross section between everything upstairs basically. And you're literally yelling at me, your employee, in front of everyone. And she just ran downstairs, stomping like an ogre as she is, and completely slammed her door, which is right in front of reception. And everyone's like turning their head to look, like, what the fuck? Like, and then they look at me like, what were y'all talking about? And I'm just completely mortified by this bitch. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this girl just had a temper tantrum like a fucking 13-year-old boy, yo. Like, completely unprofessional. Like, if my parents ever saw somebody talk to me like that, that bitch would be attacked. Like, I was going to attack, but in the moment I was like, girl, I'm not gonna lie, I'm 27, but that moment, it felt like I was back in high school as a 17-year-old, and I was having like a teacher just rip into my ass, like, for fucking no reason, but completely unlike I've ever seen someone in charge of me ever act. Like, it was the most pathetic, immature temper tantrum I've ever seen anyone in charge have. Like, I literally was like, how is this bitch in charge? How is this bitch in charge? I don't even know. And everybody saw it. Everybody was like, what's wrong? Like, they were just like coming to my aid, because they were like literally everybody saw this. Like, guests? Like it was just like, this bitch didn't care who was around. She's just going to embarrass me, and that was her motive. And I'm like telling my other like receptionist, like, what happened? Like, were you upset I was gone? She's like, no, I don't care, and she's just upset, and she's been drinking a lot. Yes, this girl was drinking all day, like always. And not to mention, when she was yelling at me in the hallway, I could smell the alcohol reeking from her. And that was the moment when I realized, this bitch is dangerous, okay? I have never been yelled at by a drunk person in my life until then. And the fact that they're in charge of me and this whole establishment, it was an all-time low. It was an all-time low. And mentally, I felt like it brought me back to like high school in a way, or like just my youth where I didn't have a way to stand up for myself, where I felt like I couldn't. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, I'm 27-year-old woman right now. And this bitch is 31 or something like that. And she thinking she could talk to me like this? Like, what world are you in right now? What world are you in? She's in the fucking alcoholic world. That's where she is. It was just completely disgusting and pathetic. I never got an apology at all, mind you. That night proved a lot to myself and others, and it spoke volumes. So from that point, literally this girl gave me no time. She never was giving me any body language. Like, well, her body language was completely awkward, never really saying hey to me, only spoke to me regarding what I can do, like literally asking me work-related things. Like, it completely went to shit from there, and it was not my fucking fault. And I swear this girl just wanted problems. Like, I don't understand how it got there when I've done nothing but ever try to be her friend and help her, and was doing that, and she shitted on me like a slave. It just got very uncomfortable. I felt like she was playing with my livelihood. You know, where I was living was in limbo. So I was just seeking other opportunities and venting to all of my friends and even the guests. Like, they understood what I was going through. Like, they turned into our friends. Like, it was just like a whole club. It was like the school versus the principal. That's what it felt like, honestly, with a few fucking teachers' pets involved. And honestly, just a very toxic environment. Very just needed to escape. I felt very miserable there, close to the end, and very unwanted. The weekend before I left, I actually got the news from here. They were like, yeah, we want you to like take over, like come Monday and all that. So I got back there, and like my other volunteers were like, she was looking for people while you were gone. Like, I was like, okay, that bitch fake. And I'm leaving Monday. So I already felt it, and I expected that. So I knew a discussion was coming because another friend was telling me like, yeah, she said she was going to talk to you, and it didn't seem like it was a good vibe. I'm like, typical. So I knew that was coming. And once it finally came, it was so fake. Like, this girl was saying like, oh, I just want a new cycle of volunteers for the next month, which makes no fucking sense, because who wants to retrain new people? It makes no sense. And yeah, it was just like, girl, bye. Like, she was just being weird and awkward, body language all fucked up, and I didn't even let her finish, honestly. I just was like, you know, assuming what she was saying, and I said, oh, you mean somewhere to stay? Okay, I'll be out Monday. Like, literally, I just finished the conversation for her, and it was mutual. Like, I'll be out ASAP. And I still was just trying to have a smile, be nice, and act like things didn't affect me. But this girl literally was toxic, and I don't know how she could live with herself. Like, how can you live with yourself? Like, you are an evil ass bitch, and I don't know how you have good people in your life. Like, honestly. But regardless, it was all meant to be. All of my volunteers were like, oh my God, you're so lucky. Like, where you're going is definitely like more at peace and where you're meant to be. And whew, like, it definitely was. So once it came that day and I left, like, this girl saw me packing up all morning, asked me for my key and everything, and my friend walked me out, and this girl was in reception talking to guests and acting like she didn't even see me leave and didn't say shit. And as soon as we left, my friend was like, wow, like, not even a thank you, not even a hold on 1 second and, you know, give you your props. Like, I appreciate all your hard work, all of your efforts. Thank you for, you know, helping us and all this. Like, not even anything, not even a goodbye. Like, and I'm like, you know what, girl, you're right. But things like that, people like that, things follow those type of people. And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. So things are following that girl, and I ain't got nothing to do with it. Like, evil is just living inside of her soul, and it could just do that and be gone from me. Because I would have appreciated a proper goodbye, but it just proved that this girl was never cool with me and just so fake. Like, yeah, like for no reason. But anyways, that wraps up this video of my volunteer experience at Mama's home. Not to talk shit about workaways or volunteering. I feel like it's amazing. It just depends on where you're staying, and hostels are a lot of work. It depends on the type of hostel, because our hostel had activities and had breakfast, so those are extra shifts, those are extra responsibilities. We didn't do bartending or anything, so that would be an extra responsibility too. And yeah, it's just, it could vary. It could really vary depending on any type of volunteer. It could be really chill, or it could be a whole lot. And I felt like my experience was probably just one of the worst case scenarios, mainly because my manager was a bitch. My next volunteer experience, whenever that will be, yeah, I'm sure it'll be happy. It'll be more things I'm looking out for, of what to avoid if I don't want to do certain responsibilities. But not all hostels are the same. I just think that one was going through a lot. Okay, so that wraps up this story time of Mama's home, and I will talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.